We just got a new OTA in Marvel Snap that honestly might be the healthiest balance patch we've had in quite some time. Human Torch finally got toned down, War Machine has been adjusted, and Morgan Le Fay might have a chance. This one really surprised me. Let's dive into it. Hello, what is up, everybody? Kicker of Elves here, and we have got finally a very good OTA here on December 4th, 2025 in Marvel Snap. They've cut down some of the heavy hitters. They gave some buffs to some cards that really could use some love, and I feel very positive about it. Let's just jump right into it. So probably the biggest nerf here on the list is Human Torch. Human Torch going down from a 3-3 to a 3-2. And while this is a single point of power nerf, this is a massive adjustment to a card that was probably the best card in the game. You know, when Human Torch moved, it was doubling its power. So just as a quick example, if you moved Human Torch 3 times, it would go from a 3-3 to a 3-6 to a 3-12 to a 3-24. Now that's going from a 3-2 to a 3-4 to a 3-8 to a 3-16. That is a huge difference in power. The entire concept behind Human Torch, why it works in the archetype, why that deck is so dominant, is because Human Torch could get so ridiculously big that it was an obvious lane winner to the point where opponents just kind of had to be like, I'm abandoning this location and trying to win another one or another two, and that's where you could steal away with Juggernaut. Other creators have aptly pointed out that the Human Torch move list effectively got to play as a combo deck that got to run tech for free. It was ridiculous. Candidly, I had stopped playing move as much, not because I was like, oh, I'm not going to play this broken deck. No, I don't really like that line of thinking where it's like, oh, I'm not going to play this deck. It's too good. We're trying to push the ladder, trying to hit infinite. Don't fall prey to that. If you are one of those people that wants to give yourself, self-imposed challenges, that's cool too, but regardless, I was playing more of the move many list. I haven't played a lot of Human Torch move, nor have I seen a lot of it. I think it was this weird sort of Ouroboros situation where Mercury and V-Hand started becoming more prominent because of how strong this was, to the point where you were seeing a lot of those decks, but not a lot of Human Torch based move because those decks were so strong against it, to the point where it was kind of like, what are these decks doing sticking around to try and counter a deck that's not really out there? Anyway, I think this nerf to Human Torch does make sense. It was a very dominant deck and a very dominant card for so long. Does feel a little bit sus that, we're out of the move season. We're out of the season with Spider-Punk and a lot of move cards, and the kind of first action here was to nerf Human Torch. This feels like something they could have done 2 OTAs ago, and it would have been fine, but they didn't because of the theming around the season. I get it. It just does feel a little bit sus for like people who are coming back and got some of the move cards and were excited and seeing, oh, move's finally a super strong deck and it's not this weird move bounce thing. It's just, Heimdall is a legit card. I'll start investing into that. Oh, Sparky got hit. Well, the move deck's still good. I'm still building up my collection. Let me get Madam Web and do Human Torch stuff. Oh, now it's totally nerfed. That's kind of the nature of this game, but I do feel like this probably kills that deck on a perception base alone. Needing to get at least 1 or 2 extra moves on Human Torch for him to get to be keyword enormous and win a location is huge. So yeah, makes sense. Timing's a little bit off, but we needed a big shakeup. We needed something, and this offers that. This attacks what is the best points package that got to run tech, and this will change things up. This is what was needed. Next change: War Machine going from a 4-6. Keeps the same text, but now it is a 5-9. This is obviously a targeted change to the Storm War Machine Legion combo. That was one of the decks I used last month. It's very popular. I am frankly stunned that combination was allowed to exist for as long as it was, and that the original move was to nerf Storm, citing Storm as the frustrating card. And then touting War Machine is like, oh, this is the card that rewards unique playlines for people included in the deck. It's like, yeah, but you're doing a 3 cost to a 4 cost to a 5 cost Storm, War Machine, Legion, and that's a play line that makes it so the opponent can't play. No one's saying, oh, cool, I get to play the Infinite on turn 6 after playing something on turn 5. No, they're saying, I want to shut down the board for my opponent because it's very hard for them to win if they don't get to play cards in the last turn of the game. So nerfing Storm was frankly a mistake. I hope they revert her so Cerebro 2 can come back. But this change in a vacuum, setting aside the misguided logic behind nerfing Storm, this is awesome. This gets to preserve the cool factor of Legion War Machine by letting you do stuff like playing the Infinite on turn 6, or if you're doing ramp stuff, which is great, like you're playing Electro straight into War Machine, it straightens that curve out. On turn 7, turn 6, you have 7 energy, you can play the Infinite and Ebony Maw. That's cool. That's a really nice space. This gets to nullify some Electro stuff. Plays very well at Chamber that came out. This change is fantastic, and ironically, you could still play Storm, War Machine, Legion, or not Legion, excuse me. You could still play this in a Storm deck, but the line here would be you Storm on 3, totally ignore the Storm location, so an opponent has to put their turn 4 play into there to try to compete with that. Normally they're not their turn 4 play isn't the strongest play in their deck, so they're putting power in there. They're going to try and invest significantly to win that location, and you just let them do that. Turn 5, you play War Machine somewhere else, and then you steal it back with the turn 6 play, or do a spread sort of thing like that. You can still do stuff like that. I don't think that deck's going to be dominant. They want to obviously get rid of War Machine Storm Legion combination, and again, I am stunned that was allowed to last as long as it was. They nerfed so many of the feels bad cards. Spider-Man got reworked. Professor X is in shambles compared to what it used to be. They nerfed Debris, but this that was as bad as if you were playing in the original Zabu season in January 2023, you were doing Absorbing Man Spider-Man where you could lock off 2 locations. They don't like cards that say your opponent can't play cards here, and there is no bigger you can't play cards here than saying you don't get a turn 6. So this is long overdue. It is hilarious that this was the last bastion of lockdown. There's no, again, Spider-Man got reworked. Professor X is very different than what he used to be. It is very amusing that for so long it was well, you can't, Professor X, that's ridiculous. You shut down a whole location, but it's 3-card combo that destroys that locks out the whole board. Yeah, we'll let that sit for a little bit. So this is a great change. This helps out Chamber. This is awesome. I am super for this. I'm going to definitely try to play more ramp. I love ramp. Going to try War Machine stuff in it. Let's go. Morgan Le Fay is moving from a 4/7 to a 3/4, and yeah, why not? This is a card that saw no play. This is a season where they're in December where they're introducing cards like Wild Child, Phantom X, and Marrow. Those are all cards that want you to both discard and destroy cards. So this is another avenue to encourage you doing that. I think it is great where, this is clearly a build around style card. I have this in my collection. I've played it maybe once, if that. It just did not seem worth it at that cost. And I don't know if this changes that, but it's going to encourage more experimentation for those, destroy, discard style lists. I just wonder if investing into Morgan Le Fay is better than, let's say, just playing a Gambit on turn 6 to try and meet those conditions. We'll have to see, but awesome change. Let's see if this does something. Does this open up space in a Surfer list? We will have to see, but I am 100% for this kind of change. Elsa Bloodstone going from a 3/4 to a 3/5. Sure, why not? They cited some stuff and they were nervous about doing something like this in the zombie season. I think this is fine. Elsa Bloodstone, when she released, was the best card in the game, which is crazy because she came out the season after Loki, which was insane on release. As a 3/5, this is fine. I don't know if the zombies list seem to have moved away from doing Kitty Pride stuff and doing more of the spell variant. So I don't know how much play Elsa Bloodstone will get, but 3/5 is a totally respectable stat line. You do this once at 3/7, that's fine, sure. For people who have this in their collection, maybe don't have every single Series 5 card, this is a welcome change. I'm always going to applaud buffs to underplayed cards versus just doing onesie twosie nerfs to cards like Misery or other little tech card, or like nerfing Storm, for example. This is cool. Swordmaster going from 3/6 to 3/7. I think this is pretty obvious. I didn't even say this is pretty obviously targeted at next week's release of Weapon H, which is, I believe, a 7/14 that decreases its cost by 2 every time it's discarded. Swordmaster targets only an odd costed card from your hand. Your only ever target Weapon H is only ever an odd costed card. Why not? Others have cited that this is very much a Hela card when it's popular, and Hela is an awful deck to be good, so hopefully this doesn't encourage more Hela stuff, but yeah, nice to give a little pre-synergy to Weapon H, and could encourage that. Again, this is a card everybody has. Love the buff if you're playing Surfer stuff in Series 1 or whatever, or early Series 3. This is a fine card to play out on turn 6 and just have a 3/7 that becomes a 3/9. All for this buff. Don't know how much it moves the needle on Swordmaster, but again, buffs to cards everybody have is great. Similar to that, Helicarrier is getting a 2-point power buff from 610 to 612. I don't know if this does anything to Helicarrier. I guess if you're already playing a Helicarrier deck, you're probably doing something weird. There isn't really a meta consideration Helicarrier deck. We're not playing collector Helicarrier stuff. So if you were one of the few psychos out there playing Helicarrier, awesome, but like this card wants you to discard it. If you were playing out your Helicarrier on turn 6, or like Ghost Ridering it back, you were already off cooking up some craziness that I just don't know if this changed anything. Happy they buffed a card in Series 3, but I don't suspect Helicarrier taking over the meta. Dormammu, sure, just one more point of power. In 2 months they'll add another point of power, and they'll just keep doing it incrementally. I think Dormammu is a cool card. I think Second Dinner I hope they're already having these conversations. They need to have a long, hard discussion and look at what has happened to their design of cards that would have been labeled big bads. If you haven't been playing for a long time, or if you haven't just forgotten because they moved away from this, back towards the launch of the game in December, when they released like Thanos and Galactus for, call it 6 or so months, or like into a part of 2023, there would be cards that were labeled as big bads that would never drop from Series 5. Those were cards like Galactus, Kang the Conqueror, Thanos, High Evolutionary, cards that had these big game warping effects and starting animations or special animations for when their effect went off. They have really lost their way with that. Erisham was the best card in the game for quite some time. Maybe that scared them off of it, but now it's gotten to the point where if you're looking in data mines and you see a card like Dormammu, Infinity Ultron, Zombie Galacti, where it has like a very unique game start effect and a special animation, you can probably guess that card's going to be pretty bad, because their track record lately has just been like printing garbage, like Zombie Galacti, Dormammu, Infinity Ultron. Even after the adjustments and supposed buffs to him, they just do not work. Agamotto is kind of the only big bad-esque card that works, and even he's not seeing a lot of play. He's been totally usurped by freaking Merlin. So that's kind of my aside on like the loss of the powerful, cool, game warping big bad cards that used to be these big impactful things. Naturally, we don't want cards as strong as original Galactus or Thanos, but they've got to find a happy medium between crap like Zombie Galacti and Erisham. There's a mid ground in there, and they've got smart enough people working for them to like try and figure it out. And I don't think they're going to get there by doing one power buff to Dormammu, but sure, buff's a buff. Spider-Man Noir, don't start the show with a showstopper. This is a huge change. So he's going from a 4/6 to a 4/4, but now he always sets the top card of your deck to have 8 power. You still pull it if your other cards have a cost of 8, so you can still do that little side quest to try and pull it out. But just always setting the top card of your deck to have 8 power, that's freaking huge. This feels like you could probably test him out in a negative deck. Some of the Hydro Man Gore stuff that people have been doing. This has so many applications and avenues for experimentation, where as long as you're not playing him in like a Surt or Scar, I don't know what the percentage is, but there are so many cards in the game that want 8 power. Imagine just hitting your Iron Man. You'll happily play a 5/8 Iron Man that you can then copy, or a 6/8 Gore. Like, there's so many things that this can work with, and I'm excited to see what people come up with. This is a pretty fast change for for a card that released in a really rough state, and even then people were doing some experimentation. I think it's awesome, and this is a creative way to kind of keep the detective searching for the exact set of clues to pull its suspect or do the gotcha and pull onto the board. We get to keep that while also just being like, hey, this is a 4/4, which adds up to 8, makes a card have 8 power. You build your deck around it. It's still a build around. That's wonderful. Big fan of this. And yeah, those are the changes. This is the December 5th OTA. Overall, I'm happy with this change. I'm glad they took a swing and changed things up. The biggest sort of elephant in the room is what the heck happened to Victoria Hand. Nothing touched there. Maybe their idea is that Victoria Hand and Mercury style decks were so dominant because of how strong Move was. So if they hit the Move package and that disappears, Move was like the best combo deck. So they do that. People might start playing Living Tribunal stuff, and that just totally free rolls Victoria Hand because all their tech is, Shadow King and Deafening Core. They're not running expensive tech. That happens, that discourages people from playing that list, so it moves away. Same thing with Mercury. Mercury's not out there really trying to shut down Prowler stuff. It's trying to stop the Human Torch from moving. Human Torch goes away. People stop playing Mercury. I think that's what they're thinking with this change, but it is a little bit ridiculous that Victoria Hand is just completely untouched. They nerfed Misery down to 4/8. That's still too high. It should be a 4/7. Victoria Hand should at least be a 2/2. That deck is the best deck in the game, and I don't think this changes that, but we'll have to see. If you want more in-depth OTA reviews, if you want in-depth deck guides, meta theory, tips for you to hit infinite consistently or push up higher on the ranked leaderboard, please hit that subscribe button. We got tons more videos coming. This has been so much fun making content with y'all. Love seeing the comments. Please let me know what you think of this OTA, or if you just want to talk about anything else other than Marvel Snap, I will reply. As long as you're not outright trolling me or being rude, I'll see you there in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about anything. And I'm getting a little off topic as normal. I'm Kicker of Elves. Thank you very much for watching this OTA review, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.